Thanks, booth thing.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Cayce.
Hey, ladies.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you have been busy this year.
Busy, and more busy. But just the life of a homesteader, right?
Yeah.
For you.
There's always. I think that you, like everybody else, you kind of ramp that up a little bit, I think. Because
you work it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I try to work my age while I'm still young. I'm trying to get stuff done before I don't want to do it anymore at a certain age. So
that is exactly what I was thinking about before we came on, because I was sitting there and I'm waiting for a few more people to come in before I get into all that you're doing, because I don't think people who
I don't think I even know.
Well, I think people who don't follow you on social media don't realize all the stuff that you're doing. And like every time I see something you post, I'm like exhausted. And what I was thinking about is, Ryan and I are just at a different age, but I mean, oh my gosh, the stuff you're doing.
Well, I think my mom says the same thing too, because her out here at the homestead, she's just like, if I only tried this 30 years ago, it would be a lot different than she says trying it at 67. So it's just a little bit different. So now that I'm 36, I'm like, let me just push as much as I can get done. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think because I know, like Ryan and I were having a conversation about the fact that all that we did in 2020 and 21 and 22. And then we were like, because it's just, we are done doing infrastructure. Like right now we're waiting on pins and needles about the 4 farmers grant tomorrow. And that's because we need to upgrade and repair fencing and expand it.
Right.
But again, that's going to be us. And that's going to be a huge job. And I remember when we did it in the summertime, and I mean, we're not talking 100 and something degrees like Georgia or Texas. And we were just like, oh my gosh, we're dying.
Still, putting up fencing is a lot of work. Huh?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And luckily on my homestead,
it is a lot of work.
The couple that I bought it from, well, the woman, her and her husband, before he passed, fenced in the entire 10 acres by themselves. So it was a lot easier.
Suburban hillbilly, right?
Yep.
40-50 makes the body feel like, right.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing too, is, and then, one of the challenges we have in addition to, the age and all that stuff is you're putting in posts and you can't get them in deep enough because you're hitting rocks.
Right.
Like we have fencing between the boars and the sows. And, I told Ryan this great idea that Tony at Cabin in the Woods told me about. And that was to go in there with a tractor, dig a trench, put cement in, all that stuff. We can't even dig a trench along that line.
You're super rocky, huh?
We have granite outcroppings and you see the rocks, but then they go down into the ground. You got to blast them out. So, the problem is every time you empty the water trough, you're undermining the fencing.
Right.
Nuts. So what I want you to do, Cayce, is I think we've got a bunch of people here now. So just tell us all the stuff that you are doing right now, because I mean, even if you want to bullet list it to make it easier.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, I was talking to y'all before we came on. I wanted to go back because I think it was about almost exactly a year ago that I was on. And I was saying, I know I said that I wanted chickens then, which check. But I will say, for any new time homesteader, when you're watching, and I say this all the time on my channel, whatever I'm on, homesteading is not for the faint of heart. Because even chicken and turkeys, they're easy. Okay. But it's still another mouth that you're feeding, and you can't forget to feed them, and you do have to feed them all the time. And when you're prepping for winter, you have to prep winter for yourself, but also prep for your animals. So it was a lot more entailed than I thought it was.
Really?
Well, I guess it was just because you think, well, a newbie chicken owner thinks, oh, you get chickens and they all lay eggs. Well, yeah, they do if they're all girls. but you can get that group like I did, that out of 12 of my chickens, 8 of them were boys. And you don't need that
Oh my
many
gosh!
roosters. Yes.
Did you really?
Yeah, you have
That's
a hatch,
crazy.
a lot of roosters.
See,
That's
I had
nuts.
one of my
I've
friends
never
hatch
had
them
that
for me.
happen when we bought chickens to have so many be roosters.
Well, it's funny because the girl that hatched it's one of my dear friends out here, and she hatched for another one of our homesteading buddies. And she said this year was just the year of the rooster. She said, I'm
Yep.
not looking at anything else. It was the year of the rooster.
Wow.
Because I got 12 chickens and 8 were boys. I got 8 turkeys and 7 were boys. And so it was one, a lot of people don't want chickens or roosters because they're trying to get rid of theirs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I found a couple people in the town where I live that it's smart. They get all of their freezer chickens, like crock pot chickens, from roosters that are being given away. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you could get your whole year's supply of meat in a month from getting people's roosters. So, didn't know that was going to be hard and that you had to wait and that chickens lay at all different times. It's not like, oh, they turn, 10 weeks, everybody's laying. No, bantams lay at a different time than the Easter eggers and the leghorns. And I was a barn mix of what I got. So some have not even laid yet. My Easter eggers, I think she's 38 weeks and she still has not laid. She's just a freeloader. And then my turkeys, I finally got it down to my girl and my boy, which I have to tell you, Lisa, you were right. I love raising turkeys. They are my girl, my hen, is the sweetest, gentlest. She just looks in your eyes, like to your soul. But she hasn't laid yet, so she's a freeloader.
No, that's normal for a turkey.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, I know that I think Carmen at Jesus Loving Home Center was getting a second round of eggs like early fall, but Princess is like, nah, you got to wait until next spring.
Yeah, she's too young. They'll need
Oh
to wait
my
until
God.
the
Did you
spring for
see
the
what
first
Gwen
time.
said? She's got a 2-year-old chicken that hasn't laid a single egg. There's
What-
something wrong.
Here's what I'd like to know. How do you know they're not laying? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I have so many chickens. I got 4 eggs the other night. And we have, I think, just under 40 now because we lost some. But the thing of it is that, like, unless it's a Easter egger or an Americana that's laying blue or green, or the rare white eggers that I have now, the ones that are laying white eggs, they're all laying brown. I don't know who's laying what, except that I know they're molting right now. So, okay, that makes sense, Gwen.
What did she? Oh, sorry.
Bantam. She's a full size with bantams.
Oh, yeah. See, my bantams, their eggs are so cute. Don't get me wrong. Cute little small eggs. But what's a big boy like me supposed to do with that size egg?
Hey, Heather.
You need some Rhode Island Reds, some white leghorns, some golden comets, some Jersey
and
Giants.
Had 2 leghorns, and they both turned out to be boys. I was hoping that one would at least be a girl, and then I would keep that rooster to, get some more chickens. But no. And then, all right. So Tammy, get all of my boys gone, right? So I'm down to 4 hens. And one of my friends says, hey, I have 3 Easter egger hens. I like the smaller chickens. Do you want to come and get them? I said, yeah, sure. How much do you want for them? She's like, just bring me one of your pumpkins. And I'm like, a score. Okay. So I go pick them up. And because I didn't know how to identify girls and boys yet, 2 of the 3 turned out to be roosters.
Oh, no.
I know. It was the year of the roosters. But yeah, so turkeys, chickens I've done this year. We doubled the garden and added in pumpkins, which were somewhat successful if it wasn't for deer terrorizing the garden. And we've started, the process of start our meat chickens and meat turkeys in the spring. So we've kind of are getting infant structures together and getting that going while still, trying to stay afloat on the farm.
Yeah.
Keep going, because I know there's 5,000 more things you're doing.
I'm going to guide him on one because I know one of them was the greenhouse.
Oh, yes. So we did as much as we could in that greenhouse. and I guess it's on a floodplain or whatever, but weeds grow way too well in there. So we kind of didn't
Oh,
do
I got a
much.
question. When you say that weeds grow well in there, do you mean they're like growing where they're not supposed to be, or like what
They're
do you mean
everywhere.
in the pots in the?
Oh no, not in, because I built last year, I built one of my hugelkultur beds and I wanted to test it out, and I said I wanted to do lettuce in there, but now that I'm more of a seasoned gardener, I know that you can't really grow lettuce in Georgia in a greenhouse because it's always 10 to 15 degrees hotter in there.
Yeah, you definitely need like a shade cloth or something.
Well, I'm going complete hydroponics for
Yeah.
lettuce from now on.
Yeah.
But our greenhouse, because it's older, our shade cloth ripped. So having to replace that, and then the plastic is starting to rip around it because they didn't use proper greenhouse. My thing is, now I've learned it and I get it. Being thrifty is wonderful, and sometimes we have to do it.
Right.
But for bigger items such as a greenhouse, which is 55 foot, okay, it's a huge piece. You need to spend the money and do it properly the first time. So home insurance is going to cover it to be completely redone.
Amen.
So I'm going to do it correctly. I'm going to have a company come in and put the plastic on properly because I want to use it.
Yeah.
Use it. It's a waste of the 2,000 square feet that it is.
You're absolutely right. And it could also be used to house birds.
I thought about meat birds, but I really want fruit trees. And so I'm throwing my fruit trees in there because they like hot and dry or citrus trees. So that, and I'm really excited. Yes,
Which
I
fruit trees that like hot and dry?
Citrus, so like lemon, key lime.
Oh, okay, your citrus trees.
Lemon dry.
Huh. Okay.
There's one company. It's like I think it's called Stark Brothers. That are doing a special, and it was the 3 trees. It was the Meyer lemon, it was the key lime, and the clementine. And it was like $100 for 3 dwarf trees. So I was like,
oh, that was a good deal.
Yes, I mean that's another one. Investing in your property. Sometimes you just spend a little bit of money.
Can I just tell you, Ryan splurged and bought me I wanted this solar camera. So I got, a 4K camera, solar powered, and I wanted it for the piglet barn so I could keep an eye on Waylon, and then I would be able to move it and also use it for farrowing, right? To make it easier. And it was on sale. What a sweet deal. Well, this is the first place that I've lived where I've had the most amazing internet. It's cable internet. I never have a problem.
And I'm so jealous.
Well, I've always had your kind of internet. So here's the deal. So I get this camera home, and I'm, I'm all confident, and I'm like sitting there linking it together. It won't link to my wireless. So long story short, I go through this whole big thing, and I called the internet company and I said, look, am I right that this is compatible?
Hey, man and his dog.
And they're like, absolutely it is. I don't know what's wrong with that thing. You better return it. So I had to return it. I'm so bummed. But that was a prime example of like, sometimes you have to invest in things that you need. Like we invested in a building for our hay. It's a temporary building.
Which is important for y'all. It's important.
Right. And it's just, it's frustrating sometimes.
No, I don't mind. I am in Sparta, Georgia, and people probably have no clue where that is. It's a little hole in the wall. I assume he knows about it. So I don't. No, our big nursery here, and listen, we don't have a lot. We don't even have a Walmart out here. We have Dollar General. It's called T-bone, like the steak. And that's the nursery that we have. Oh, nice. You know where it is? Yes, it's the boonies. I live in the the sticks.
So do I.
Hey, that's the best place to be. That is the best place to be.
Carmen posted something about cheesecloth, and I'm like, hey, where did you get that cheesecloth? Because I said Walmart's over an hour away, so it's like a half a day trip. And I said, I couldn't find it locally, and she's like, I got it on Amazon, and I'm like.
And that's the one good thing is Amazon delivers right to my gate.
Yeah, they deliver to mine too.
So I keep the electricity on. at Amazon for as much
Me
as I
too.
order.
Yep, me too. Me too.
Hey, Christine.
Hey.
Yeah,
Oh, we
man and
have
his dog
multiple
friends.
people that know where Sparta is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's we got our small town drama, just like I guess anywhere has. So it's so funny to think that I had more drama here with 1,900 people than I did in Atlanta.
That's funny. There's lots
Crazy.
going on here. I just don't know it because I stay home.
See, the crazy thing is I try to, but every time I go to the feed store, they're like, "That's that boy from YouTube." And I'm like, oh my God. One guy literally said, he was like, that boy has more subscribers than we have people in our county. I said, well, I mean, we're small, so don't get excited.
So picture this, right? Ryan and I, the first time we were recognized, we were getting water in town. And there's this guy in overalls and his wife, and they're like staring at us. And I'm like, hello.
Hi.
I was like, no,
okay?
no, the New York City in me is like this.
What you looking at?
What are you looking at? I didn't say nothing. So, I'm standing there, and it was funny because it's a friend of a YouTuber who lives in town who knew us. And, was like, hey, I'm so-and-so,
I think it's so funny. And I will say the one good thing about especially YouTube subscribers is they are very respectful of your privacy. So if they do see you and you kind of look like you don't really want to talk, which is me most of the time, because when I'm in town, like you, Lisa, it's about an hour away. It's about 47 minutes. I have a half day. I got to get everything done. Like I got to go to feed store, the grocery store, the Walmart. I don't really want somebody to be like, oh my God, I just saw your video on chickens. It was so good. Thanks. Great. See you later kind of thing. So they do respect your privacy, which is a good thing. Instagram, not so much.
I've had somebody comment before. My wife and I were passing through the area and we think we saw your house and we were going to stop in, but and they were like, blah, 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 blah. We didn't think it was appropriate. And I said, thank you very much for being so respectful.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Totally.
Not respectful. And that's the bad thing because my house is this bright yellow. So, and it's like, you could tell it anywhere in Sparta. Like, everybody's like, oh, that yellow house. Well, they say the old owners' names. But I was like, do I want to show my house on YouTube? But I haven't had any problems.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Christine.
So keep going with the list. Let's see. There's farmers market.
Oh, farmers market.
Oh yeah, let's hear about farmers market.
Bread, steak boxes. Soaps.
Yeah, we talked about I don't do soap and candles anymore because there's a woman that I do them for me, but I don't sell them because there's a woman that sells there and we've become friends with her. And you don't want to step on your friend's toes that sell at the market. Somehow I got turned into the bread man. Like I joined the farmer's market thinking I was going to sell fresh produce. And there were already two other vendors there that had been doing it for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And so I brought a couple loaves of bread, not really thinking. I was just like, I'm going to just bring the bread because I like making bread. So now they don't know us as Ormsby Farm. They know us as the bread people. So they're like, where's the bread people tent? So now that's what we're known for is the bread.
That's cool.
But steak boxes, we're really excited. It starts this Friday. And it's 4 farms here in the town where we live. Well, 3 farms and 1 winery. And it's a steak dinner for $2, $4, or $6. So you're getting home grass-fed, grain-finished beef. Either a sirloin or a fillet or a ribeye is your choice. And then I have pressure canned my homegrown potatoes and green beans. So those are your sides, your choice of sides. And there's another farm that does pecan pies. Well, he does pecan and then an infusion with sweet potato called the Boo Thing, which is so good. And he's you get a pie with your meal, and then our winery here with their grapes are providing gift certificates to get a bottle of wine. So you get the full dinner for $2, $4, or $6 for really good price. I mean, it's between 60 for 2, maybe 100 for 4, maybe 180 for 6 people. So you're supporting local, and that's a big thing we've talked about forever is instead of buying from the big box stores in the holiday, buy with, a reason, and supporting and putting a smile on a small farmer's face is a good way to support your community. So
Absolutely. That's awesome.
That's
I know that
awesome.
I don't know if you were around, Cayce, but since we kept Norman, we ran out of pork and we had to buy some pork to fill in, because we get our cow every year.
Right.
And we ended up buying Berkshire pork. Well, Berkshire is the breed of pig.
Right.
Pork from Half Hog from Maud Hog and Cattle, who is the next, well, they're in our county, but they're also the next county up. Oh my God.
I'm telling you, there is nothing, now that I've started eating home raised meat, whether that's beef or pork. There's a girl, Brianna. She listens to most of my videos. We get our beef and pork from her. Oh my gosh. When I tell you her pork chops, I will never buy meat at the grocery store. And now I've had to with chicken until next year, but it's just, there's a different taste when you're, tasting the beef or the pork or whatever it is you're buying from them. And like you said, Lisa, buying half a steer or buying a half a hog or a fourth of a steer is the most financial smart way to do it.
And it's supporting a farmer.
Right.
Yeah. It's a win for them and it's a win for you.
Right. I mean, it's the best meat. You can't go wrong with it. So I definitely encourage people to do that, especially during the holiday. Hey.
And, Ryan, it was funny because Ryan and I were talking about, it's like we've settled for stuff for many years because we didn't know any better.
Right.
And
but now you know better and have tasted better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's the same thing with fruits and veggies. I mean, there's just a different taste to homegrown food. And we all know what it is. I mean, people are probably tired of all of us, saying, oh, the preservatives, this and this. Well, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, it really is a real thing. We did my canned spaghetti sauce last night. And there's just like a richer taste rather than buying the canned spaghetti sauce in the store.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just so much better. It's it's delicious.
Absolutely. Because I know like Mountain Grandma is very much, and I don't mind speaking for her because I think I've known her long enough, but she's very much a very natural person, would prefer non-toxic things. Me, on the other hand, I'm cheap. It's not, I'm being honest.
Me too.
It's not really about.
I'm cheap too, though.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is I respect you. And the thing of it is like, for me, it's I go to the store, and even when I go to the dollar store and I'm looking at the price of Cascade for my dishwasher, and I'm sitting there saying, this is what I'm spending tons of money on, is the garbage, like napkins, paper towels, dishwashing liquid, dishwasher soap, all that stuff. And so the reason why I say this is again, not non-toxic, it's cheap. I looked up a thing for dishwashing liquid, powder, dishwasher powder. And I made it myself. I had the ingredients because I make my own laundry detergent.
Yep.
And it took me 5 minutes to make. And I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be crap. Right? Because Mama likes her Cascade because it works real well because I'm not good at rinsing dishes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Same.
Let me tell you, I can't believe how good this stuff works.
Really? Okay, I'm going to say it. You know what I'm going to say?
Guess what she's going to say, Cayce? You need to make a video.
I was about to say.
On that. And I'll tell you, it's funny. Your timing is perfect because I like to use Dawn dishwashing soap.
So does my mother.
I have replaced, I don't buy store-bought soaps or store-bought lotions or oils, like anything for my face or anything like that. Those, I don't purchase those anymore. I make my own. But I still use shampoo, and I really want to make my own of that too. I just haven't done it yet. And I want to make my own dishwashing soap because I've been worrying. That stuff is so dang slimy, and it does the job. It gets everything off, but are we rinsing it well? Right. And here I am trying to detox for the purpose of health and trying to think of what can I get out of my diet and quit using to try to help my body heal, right? Because they say our bodies will heal themselves if they're given the right conditions.
Right.
So not to go into any details about, what I got going on, but I'm trying to do that. And that's something that I'm like, oh my gosh, here I am trying to do a good job. And I'm like somebody who washes dishes while they cook kind of person too. So I try to stay on top of
Oh,
those
you're
dishes.
really responsible. I have to like force myself.
Hey, every now
2
and
hours
then
after dinner.
there becomes this little pile, but I don't end up with a huge pile because I get it. Like, for example, if I want to wash my hands, I'm like, and I have dishes there, might as well go wash some dishes. So I'll go wash dishes while I'm washing my, it's a save the water kind of thing. I used
Right.
to do this too in Arizona.
You're a better woman than I am. You're
Yeah,
a
because
better
I'll
woman
just be
than
like,
I
I'll
am.
wash my hands later too.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't feel like doing those right now.
You know what's funny is
That's
I
fine.
was so, when I first moved to my homestead, I was so bougie, and I was on Monica and Eric's Plans Promised Land Ranches live. And I told Eric, I said, no, I want a dining room because I'm going to be that homesteader that comes in and gets fully dressed for dinner like they do in the South. And he was
In the
like,
movies.
yeah,
Like they do in
okay,
the
all
movies.
right. He was
It
like,
was probably never
we'll
real.
touch base in a year. And in a
Yeah.
year, I have to remind myself about
Hey,
showering
Huga.
and be like, Casey, when is the last? Okay, so you know you showered for church on Sunday. How many days is that kind of thing? Because you're tired. You get the animals in and put away for the night, or pulled gardens, and you're like, oh, nobody's gonna smell me on YouTube. So
Yeah, it's not even tired for me. It's why bother? I'm gonna
Mhm.
get filthy pig snout marks
Mhm.
all over my jeans
Mhm.
again.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm gonna step in mud. I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna get, Eleanor has this thing where she's got to go right on my leg, and I get
Yeah.
covered in mud. The little piglets jump on me and get mud on me.
Mhm.
That's so
So,
precious, though.
oh, they
It
are. They
is.
are. They are.
But no, yeah, that's
Oh, look at here, Casey.
there's a new. That's true.
You've come a long way, Casey, I have to say.
I
Mhm.
have, because I made it a little short because a lot of my Atlanta friends are like, who are you anymore? And your mindset changes out here. Like, I don't want to do some of the things that I used to do when I was in the city.
Right.
Like, I have no want to do it anymore. Like, I have
Mhm.
no want to, even though I do miss, going on trips and vacations, it just doesn't run across my mind as much as it used to, or
Mhm.
going to wine tastings, because everybody knows I love my wine. Uh, I could, give it or take it. Dinner
Mhm.
parties, throwing big lavish parties, no want. I really don't. I
Mhm.
just am as excited
Mhm.
about getting canning jars and vacuum sealing food. That's where my excitement is
Mhm.
canning and prepping.
Mhm.
Great
Yeah.
point, because it's funny. We'll fight over who's going to go into town.
Mhm.
It's only a couple minutes. It's
Right.
not far, but it's funny when something comes up on
Hey, Tammy.
Marketplace, cases of canning jars.
Mhm.
It's like,
So
see ya.
I said that for like, my family always laughs at me for my Christmas list, because they're like, there goes Casey. He's going to ask for canning jars or Mylar bags or something like that for Christmas. But it's something that you need. I mean, why am I going to ask for something that I may use? I may not. I know I'm
Yeah.
going to use canning jars. I know I'm
Mhm.
going to use Mylar bags. So that's what I won't. Make your
Yeah.
own
Mhm.
make your own mead. Okay, so I tasted some mead at our local
Hey,
winery,
tales told in the dark.
and now I've started kind of like studying. I may next year be doing a video series. I don't know yet, on making wine, homemade wine through a still,
Mhm.
and making bourbon with the cracked corn. Because one homesteader uses it for their chickens and turkeys, and to make a little bit of mash,
Mhm.
to tickle their thirst.
Mhm.
Mountain Grandma will always say, make a video.
You got to make a video.
Intense
I'm gonna
pressure on you.
test it first.
Yeah.
But I bought, there's this company on Amazon, of course, that sells
Mhm.
the pre-made juices to make wine with all the yeast and all that kind of stuff. And it is not a terrible, it's $65. It makes 35 wines, bottle of
That's
wine.
nice. Hey,
Wow.
Amy Tam.
So, I mean, $2 a bottle, and you're
Do you know
stocking up
if you
the
could make
pantry.
Can you make your own vodka too, or moonshine? Is that illegal?
Yes.
Tomatoes.
Can you do a video on that?
I don't know because everybody here in Sparta makes it, so I don't know if it's
Oh.
Exactly.
legal.
He doesn't need to.
So I don't
Um,
really drink. I might drink a couple times a year, and it doesn't take much because I'm not a drinker.
Me and Casey, on the other hand.
I was about to say, yeah. I mean,
But I would like to have it to make tinctures with, because everything is more
vodka's
expensive.
potatoes.
Mm-hmm. Vodka's,
So
yeah. I've heard that, but I wouldn't know what to do with it. I wouldn't know what to do with anything.
yeah,
I don't know anything
Suburban
about the
Hillbilly
equipment.
said it's because really instead of the corn, if you do mashed like a mashed potato,
Uh-huh.
yeast, spring water, and sugar, that's vodka. That's all it is, and you're gonna let it
Huh.
sit for a couple weeks. This is what I've studied so far. Let it ferment and then distill. And there's a still on Amazon for like $120,
Yep.
and it does 5 gallons. And it's something that you invest in
Very
your
cool.
homestead, and you can make those
Mhm.
tinctures or those extracts if you give as gifts,
Yeah.
like vanilla
Or heck,
extract
even
or
distilled water, right?
right.
Well, that's what
Mhm.
Kathleen at My Alabama Farm Life has a still, and she's done it for like tinctures and all that. I love Suburban
Mhm.
Hillbilly. She's like, don't ask me how I know.
Mhm.
But I think it's important. You raise a really good point, and I agree. There's something to be said for being cheap and being thrifty.
Right.
But then you get to a point where there are things that you're better off doing and spending the money on. And we recently did some things just to make life easier for the pigs, and we have to give injections and all that kind of thing. In the scene when we do injections
Mhm.
on large pigs, the piglets are one thing. Large pigs is something else. Everybody says, "Oh yeah, you just give them an injection while they're eating and they just stand there." Not mine. Not mine.
Mhm.
They feel it, they run, and the needle comes out. Now you have to stick them again because
Mhm.
we don't have a livestock thing to actually hold them.
Right.
And the reality of it is, Ryan's giving the injection. I'm holding on to them. They're taking off. So one of the things we invested in was a slap shot, but we also got the metered gun to go with it to make life easier, because I was
Right.
watching my mentor do it. She just walks over and goes like this, and the needle's in, and she goes, ksh, and while the pig's walking away, she's going, pulling it out of him.
Wow.
And that's true. So there are some things to make your life simpler and to make things cheaper in the future is
Yep.
to go ahead and just put that money into the things that you need up front. Listen, nobody said that homesteading was a cheap lifestyle. Okay. There are ways to be frugal with it, but you're
Mhm.
still going to have to put money into that homestead, whether
Yeah.
you're the way you're doing your garden. That is,
Yep.
you got to put money
Mhm.
into that to start off. Same thing
Yeah.
with your animals, and it's not going to pay you back for a while. So just know that you're growing healthier stuff. Like I laughed because we said it's a $50 egg. When I got my first egg for my chickens, I said I got a $50 egg.
It's true.
She laid a golden egg.
She did. But I mean, there
True.
are those things that you need so that you could be well prepared for the future. And I
Mhm.
sit down at the beginning of every year and I'm like, okay, what do I spend most of my money on? Like, I'll go down like receipts. Where do I spend the most of my money? And that is what I focus on for the year, trying to
Right.
be able to eliminate that bill. And this year, for sure, it's two. It's meat. I could not believe, I was dumbfounded when I went and bought a whole chicken at the grocery store and
Ugh.
paid almost $9 for a
Mhm.
chicken that one had no flavor.
Yep.
So you have
Mhm.
to add all these seasonings
Grainy.
in.
Yeah.
And it lasts maybe 2 meals. But also, again, I like my adult beverages, and everything is so expensive now. Wine, getting vodka for something, even if it is
The
just for making
turkey.
the
The cost of the turkey. I told my husband, I'm like, we are getting turkeys next year. I'm not a big turkey eater, but I like to have some kind of turkey on my plate. So if
Mhm.
we got a turkey, maybe raised a couple of them, we could have some turkey legs or something,
And
because
I'll
the
Yep.
tell
cost
you,
of
it's
the
a good
turkey
way
this
to
year
sell
was
them too,
nuts.
Tammy.
Mhm.
Getting a couple because you'll get a couple eggs from your girl after she starts laying eggs.
Uh,
Um, turkeys here, and they call it pasture raised, because we
Yeah.
got to be
Mhm.
fancy with it. Pasture raised turkeys were going for $40 to
Me too.
$60 for a chicken,
Mhm.
and they sold out in May. This one woman that sold it, she sold hers in May out. They didn't pick them
Wow.
up until November,
And they
but
sold them
she's
for how much?
$40 to $60 depending on the weight. Because
Holy
it was
smokes.
so
Which,
you
I
can
mean,
make your money back.
it,
You can
yeah,
keep
it
one for
sounds like
you
a
and sell the
lot, but
rest.
yeah, it sounds like 40 to 60 sounds like a lot. But that's
Yeah.
what people are paying for a grocery store turkey
Mhm.
that is definitely not going to be the same quality of meat.
I had a
Right.
friend of ours, so we raised the bourbon reds, and I miss them, but at the same time, I just couldn't justify keeping them all year.
Right.
I can't because we still have turkeys from the five or six we have from last year.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
we
in
had
your
one of
freezer?
those. Yeah, we still had
Mhm.
one this year. We really learned a lesson. We should have parted them out. We didn't, but we just don't eat enough turkey.
Right.
Yeah.
But what we figured was well, we'll cook it all at once for a holiday, even though it's just the two of us, and then we'll do stuff
Yeah.
with it. We did. But we had like a 12 to 13 pound one. I got so sick of looking at turkey that even though it was because I'm sorry, even when you raise it yourself, turkey in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days doesn't taste so good
Yeah.
anymore. So I ended up taking all the dark meat.
You
and
got to
making broth.
can it, Lisa. Put it in that Nesco.
I did.
I joked about you this morning. We were talking about, our favorite homesteading gifts ideas that we present. And Tammy, let me tell you, I don't want to say bullied, but peer pressured into getting the Nesco electric pressure canner by Lisa, Monica, and Alicia. And I'm so glad that I took that advice.
And
Really?
Lisa hadn't used hers yet at that time.
It's the best thing in the entire world, Tammy. If you don't have one,
It's a Nesco electric one?
it's electric pressure canner.
Okay.
And I do leftovers in that now. So like if I've
Cool.
made too much chili,
Mm-hmm.
you can put 1 quart in that Nesco pressure canner and it's a set it and forget it.
The only
just
thing
have
you
to
can't
watch it.
do is water bath quarts, which kind of disappointed me.
Yes.
And the reason why is I got cranberries on sale and I did the cranberries in the jar with the sugar and the boiling water. And I had the wide mouth and I was all ready and I went to put them in there and I went, and something bad came out of my mouth and I had to pull the water bath canner out, which is behind me now.
Right.
But that was the biggest thing. And but I do love it and I use it all the time. And that's what helped me because I don't have large batches.
Right.
I don't. And so we've pressure canned broth. I like regular pressure canning too. But
Yeah,
back
me
to the turkeys, I have to tell you something. A friend of ours who's a veteran, he bought a locally farm raised turkey in Connecticut. It was $60. When he went to pick it up, he paid the rest of it. It was $90.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm sitting there thinking, got mine for free because I hatched it out and I bought it a few bags of meat bird feed.
That's awesome.
Literally. I mean, that's the big thing now is pasture raised chickens. Some of those go for almost $6-7 a pound now. If it's pasture raised chickens, you're looking at paying $17 to $20 for a whole chicken. And there are some people that pay it. And I appreciate you because you just paid off a light bill for me. So
yeah, it doesn't fly here. South Dakota has its bougie spots, but we are more traditional ranching. So the reality of it is everybody's pushing beef for Thanksgiving, pork, you name it. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But like people don't even know what cooney pigs are.
Right.
Like I go to the feed store and when I went to look into feed, I said, well, I've got these pigs. And she's like, oh, you got Berkshire, you got Yorkshire, you got this, that. And I was like, I got cooney. And she looked at me like, what are those? And I had to go on this whole big thing and I had to show her. It was really cool though, because now she learned about him because she came to me when I went to pick up feed and said, because she called the vet nutritionist at the minerals company to make sure it met the AKKPS standards for feed. And she was like, they knew about those pigs and I didn't. And then she turns around and tells me, I watched this whole episode on your pigs.
See, that
Oh,
that's the
that's
crazy
so
thing is
funny.
it's the only thing that I know about pigs now are coonies. Like, I guess I
Mhm.
should probably look up other type of pigs, because now when people are like, "Yeah, I'm raising pigs," I'm like, "Oh, coonies." No.
No,
I say,
no.
"Oh, well, you suck."
Yeah. I just like them because they're easier for us to handle.
Right.
They're easier for us on the land.
Mhm.
The 2 meat pigs that we had really did a number on the pasture, and which was great because it cleared it, but it's really made it difficult for us to recoup it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the one pasture we struggle with. So
What kind of pigs did you have before?
I had Mangalitsa, Berkshire, and Duroc crosses, which
Huh.
were beautiful because the Mangalitsa is similar to the Kuni in that
Uh-huh.
they are heritage breed.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
But because they were crossed with Berkshire and Duroc, they
Uh-huh.
ended up, we only had them from January 31st to August, end of
Uh-huh.
August.
Uh-huh.
And it was really nice. Because ideally, you really just want meat pigs in the summer. You don't want them
Yeah.
all year. You
Yeah.
know, I'm the lunatic who insists on having the Kuni pigs so I can have
They're
them
so cute.
because I
Mhm.
adore them. They're my favorite
Mhm.
animal. So
Yeah.
I keep
We
on going
have
back and forth on whether I want to do pigs or whether I just want to support my friend who sells the pork and get
mhm.
it there, because I was like, oh, I don't know if I can, because that's like a whole human right there.
yeah, and here's
Mhm.
the thing, Casey, you need a lot of sturdy fencing and all that stuff. It's really a big jump from turkeys and chickens. And if
Right.
you have access, at the time, I didn't at the time that I didn't know of. Now I know about Maud hog and cattle, and we've talked about it. So if times get tough, yeah, they will go.
Mhm.
But I'm really just enjoying having them. And that's why we took advantage of letting Sherman go.
Right.
Because right now it's perfect. We have 2, 2, and 2. They're paired up for winter. But look at Waylon and Hank. I mean, Waylon's lost traction being sick. I'm now
Mhm.
concerned. I have to keep an eye on him and see what's going on. We may send him
Yeah.
to the processor versus
Mhm.
do him ourselves to make sure that we're not going to get
Right.
sick. But everything that we
Mhm.
used was stuff that will, what's the word for it? Will be out of his system.
Right.
And I'm
Mhm.
okay with that because he's not going to be ready till next year.
Right.
Mhm.
But he's a barrow, so he
Mhm.
should always be the bigger one. And Hank is like now caught up over him.
Yeah.
So
He's doing better though.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
yeah. So so after the worms, he had another episode where he appeared to be shaking and cold again and had a very low body temperature, but should not have, if that makes sense, because it was not that
Mhm.
cold out.
Yeah.
So right now we have a warmer week and we're weaning him off the heat lamp for the day.
Mhm.
And then we're going to start weaning him off at night. But he seems okay. In my eyes, he's not 100%, but he's not sick, if that makes sense. I just
Right.
know that he's not as voracious as he was,
Mhm.
but he's eating everything and fighting his brother off. So he's really like 98%.
Mhm. Oh, good,
But
good.
but I want to make sure that when the heat lamp's gone, he can survive 20
Right.
something 0-degree weather. But
Yeah.
for some reason, he had like a 99 body temperature, which is
Huh.
low.
Yeah.
And it was 40s outside. So, I mean, he shouldn't have been that cold.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm over 200 and I shiver in 40s.
Yeah, but Boo, you're in Georgia. That's why.
I know. We're not used to the cold.
Whalen's been outside and below 0 and done okay.
Mhm.
So it's kind of
He's
weird.
with it.
Yeah, he's with it. He's acclimated to it.
Okay.
You know, but you always know when something's wrong because you know that's the thing. Like Hank is always like Hank is out there. The other pigs are out there. You know when it's really
So
cold because they're in the barn.
Right.
so man and his dog, I don't know what your circumstances are where you live where you can't have animals, but there are people who have rabbits in the garage and they raise rabbits for food and then
Quail.
quail's a big one. We're thinking about getting rabbits next year because I found like an area where we can there's already some structure there, but we could add on to it for the meat birds, because last year the meat birds were so much work for us that, I'm saying last year, but I meant this last spring. They were so much work for us, and I want to make sure we have all of our infrastructure in place before we get them again. I found a spot. I'm even thinking that in this spot, we could also put some rabbit kennels and kind of have them living above and then the meat birds under is what I'm thinking, because I've seen people do that. Yeah, Gwen's got quail.
Yeah, she's got a lot of quail. They're really cool.
Yeah, I'm that's kind of my next animal that I'm thinking is it was between quail and rabbit. Rabbit, I don't know if I would do much for the meat, but their poop is like gold for the garden.
It is.
But quail would be good to eat single.
Yeah, Christine at Gilliam Farms did that game meat collaboration where people were sharing different recipes, and I saw a couple of rabbit recipes that looked really good. Who gets 30 rabbits
in the greenhouse?
Well, see, I don't think I've ever even had pheasants. I've talked about like doing duck. And I was like, I don't really eat duck that much.
Oh, you will.
But because you got to cook it right too. But speaking of meat and freezer stuff, let me tell you how different like dinner parties are for me now. So back in Atlanta, when somebody would come to a dinner party, they'd bring a bottle of wine or something as a host gift, right? So now my friends bring me like a venison roast for the freezer. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. So homesteading mind flips as I'm like, I want.
Hey, G Mama
Girls. I want venison roast, like at the door. When you come into my house, you better have some ground venison or
that's some good goals.
A back strap, right?
Oh yeah, that's where Ryan just went now. He's out because in South Dakota we have the tags, and so believe it or not, getting a tag for deer is hard to get. So he actually got one this year, and he's been going out every day.
Well, I had one of my friends that I got apples from this year and grapes, and she called, and her husband, she was like, yeah, Michael got a deer. Do you want half of it? And I was like, yeah, but I'd have to buy more freezers. That's the problem with homesteaders is they should have like just an outlet for freezers for us to just buy, since we have to have 4 billion freezers on a homestead anyways.
Yeah, but
that's my only issue is I don't have freezer space.
Oh, I'm trying to get the blur off. Hold on.
Yes, they do. Seriously, Georgia has a limit of 12 this year.
Wow. That's amazing.
I'm having Sparta's already known for bow deer hunting.
Yeah.
And now with this change, it's like we see every day on the little farm road where I live on, it's hunters like down with the campers going back and forth. So I'm like, y'all bring me one back. Thank you.
You were talking about freezers. So there's one. There's 2,
3.
The freeze dryer, the canners, all that stuff. But one of the things we do is like, so we ordered local beef, and Ryan forgot he ordered it, quite honestly. He had ordered it so long ago he forgot, and the guy called and he said, oh, I think I'll take a quarter, and the guy was like, you already ordered. So we're gonna be like canning up some beef stew and stuff.
Awesome.
It's the best way to do it.
And we donate it.
And do it on your Nesco pressure canner, Tammy. So now I'm gonna pressure you into getting one, like everybody else. It's the coolest thing ever, and
so easy.
You know what
so
I did?
Easy.
I got a Presto. Now it's not electric though.
Yep.
So it's the stovetop one. And
the pressure canner.
But I haven't used it yet.
Oh.
That's on my next to-do list. I keep like studying up on it, and
just do it, because seriously, I found I liked pressure canning better than water bath.
Me too.
Because for us, to me, the electric stove, it was actually easier to keep the jiggler jiggling with 15 pounds. But for me, I had to actually reprocess a water bath one of the first times I did it, because in order for me to keep it boiling sufficiently, and at our long processing time, it boiled below the jars. So I'd much rather.
And also, a lot of people will, the thing I hear all the time is, oh, I'm scared of pressure canning. Listen, because everybody's like, oh, it's going to blow up. There's so many safety valves on all of them now that it's very unlikely that it will blow up.
My nervousness is about the whole botulism thing.
Okay, I was gonna talk on that next. I had to rearrange myself in my seat because you get all the comments all the time about botulism. Yes, it is a real thing. Yes, okay, but the likelihood of getting it is very low. Okay, there are multiple ways to make sure that you're taking precaution with your food. One, botulism spores cannot survive in overboiling temperatures. So that is why you're having to pressure can it, because it brings it up to that boiling temperature for the long amount of time at the right amount of pressure. And one thing that I always do, if you pressure canned it, you should always bring that food back up to a boil when you open it. Don't ever eat something you pressure canned straight out of the can. Because if you have a misseal, don't throw that food away. Just bring it back up to a boil and eat it.
I heard you can boil it for like 10 minutes or something.
I always do 10 minutes.
If there's any botulism in there, it won't survive.
So
that's true.
Yeah, I
need
I
to,
follow,
that's on my to-do list.
I follow safe recipes. I do. For 99% of the time, I follow safe recipes. I will admit, and I don't video those, I'll admit it, but I do use the Nesco pressure canner and the Carry. Why? Because quite honestly, I feel that device is a lot more capable of keeping the pressure steady and the temperature steady versus my garbage electric stove with new burners. I'm seriously, I do believe that, because we've had things over time, electronic devices have done well with stuff like that.
Right.
But the other thing is I make sure everything's sanitized. I go above and beyond bleaching my counters and my sink. Leanne laughs at me all the time because I tell her I bleach the crap out of everything. But the other thing too is, like you said, washing your hands, washing your fruit. I use certain things that I only use for canning, like for washing my jars. I have a special scrub brush that I use, and I make sure it gets sanitized. So, I think you have to do all that. But the recipes, though, I'll tell you, the one thing that I did that wasn't technically a ball recipe was the cranberry juice. But it had the same ingredients as the ball recipe. But instead of me doing all these different things to it, I just put the berries in the jar with the boiling water and the sugar, and I let it go, and I'll let it sit for 4 to 6 weeks. And then I will put it on the stove, bring it up to a boil, and drink it.
Hey, I'm right there with you, Lisa. Like, I don't ever can anything on a video that's not already been approved or is not the way that you're supposed to do it.
Right.
Am I behind the scenes? Am I a little bit of a rebel? Maybe. I won't confirm or deny anything on live television. But the one thing that I always learned is you have to can what you feel safe doing for your family.
Right.
If it's a recipe that you feel safe doing and it's worked before, then do it.
Yep.
The only reason that some recipes are approved and some aren't is because the government has put money into the study and the research on doing it. So I think one of your comments said it. If you follow directions and use common sense, you won't get it. And that's so true. If you follow the directions, which means you pressure can it at this amount of pressure for this amount of time, if you sterilize your jars, if you don't stack, don't put it in light, all these different things, you're not going to get the botulism. I mean, our ancestors way before did a lot less than we do now, and most of them survived.
Okay. True story, and I'm not going to say who does it. Someone I know, friend of a friend. No, I'm kidding. And I'm laughing at Suburban Hillbilly. She said, "You're doing it wrong. First, you distill the potatoes, add that to the canned cranberry juice." So here's the thing. I watched somebody take, You know how we have access to water from pumps and stuff?
Mhm.
Mhm,
Because when we haven't had water, I'd show that on my channel. I
mhm.
watched somebody take that water that they had in their tank that they used for their tomatoes and fill their canner up, put it outside, and can stuff. Now, personally, I won't be eating anything that person cans, but that
Oh,
person
you
is
mean
a
like
lot of.
rain catchment water?
So it's well water, but it's been sitting in a tank for the tomatoes.
Oh,
So granted, now, while I will not eat anything that person cans, they're a lot older than me, almost 90, and they're doing just fine.
right.
Just saying.
And it's the reheat stuff too. I mean, again, if you reheat it, or
Mhm.
I've noticed if I have a faulty seal, one thing that I'll do also is I'll put it
Yep.
into a gallon Ziploc bag and freeze it. So
Yep.
it can't survive the freezing
Hey,
temperature,
Butler
can't
family.
survive the boiling temperature. So you do one of those things, and you should be bringing your canned meat or canned soup, which is pressure can, back up to boil anyways. If you're eating cold chili out of the jar, bless your heart. But you're not really supposed to do that. You're supposed to bring it back up to hot. And
You could
Yeah.
get
it's common-
botulism from the Chef Boyardee that you're eating out of the can cold.
well, that you deserve it. I'm sorry, you deserve
Those
it. If you're
dented
eating
cans.
cold.
You
Oh,
know what?
Oh, look, I'm
I'm-
not the only one.
Mountain Grandma, I just want to give you a heads up. We are 56 minutes in.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Casey? Because we do have a hard stop at 1.
We have a hard stop at 5 of, but here we are.
Oh, 5 of, yeah. It's like 4 of, so. Any
So
questions?
Casey, while we're waiting for questions, I just want to say, like, I am blown away by all the growth in you, because you and I have been friends for a
you.
bit,
Mhm.
and I feel like you really
Lisa
have.
was my first homesteading friend. Huh? Did you know that, Tammy? It's that
That's
literally
awesome.
Lisa was my first homesteading friend on YouTube, and
Mhm.
I was the first ever live that I ever did was on Yogi Hollow Farm.
Aw, well, give a
Aw.
shout out
Years
to
ago.
yourself with the podcast, real quick.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yes. So we have pre-shot all of our stuff, and it's myself, and it's Monica, and it's Alicia, and we now have Ann Dale. Which,
Yeah.
let me tell you, working with Ann Dale, she's just probably one of the coolest people ever. So
She's a trip.
humble. But we
Mhm.
finished shooting, and we'll start shooting season 5. I think maybe February. I think is when we're talking about.
And the
that.
name of the podcast for anyone who doesn't know.
Oh, round the hay bale, round the hay
Hey, y'all,
bale.
hey.
And we do a morning show on Tuesdays, morning radio show called Hey Y'all Hey Morning Radio.
Mhm.
And it's fun. It's it's good because we have so much sucky TV on right now in America, like some of the worst TVs. And to be able to have something that you can go as a homesteader and listen to people that have done it, been there, done that, are giving
Mhm.
advice. It's nice to have that. So I'm glad that we
It
can
is.
give that to our viewers. So yeah.
Mhm.
So
It's fun.
absolutely check the podcast out. It's awesome. And Casey is definitely the brains behind all of that. He has totally come up with that idea, put that together, and it has just blossomed and taken off, which is absolutely wonderful. And I love him
Thank
for
you.
it.
Thank you.
It is.
And thank
So-
y'all for having me on again. This has been so much fun. Huh?
It has
Love
been
it.
fun. It's always fun chatting with you, Casey.
It's always fun
Always.
chatting with y'all.
So we're
Well,
at
thank
2.
you everybody for coming. We probably should go ahead and wrap it up so I'm not late for my meeting.
Because you got to work for a living.
I gotta work.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. We will see you next week. And Casey, thank you again for coming
Thank
in.
you.
It's been
Thank
wonderful
you.
having
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.